What is up, 40 fam, and welcome back to the channel. Guys, a couple of days ago, I did Geography Now Germany, and this video was recommended to me. Why is Germany such an industrial leader? Because I started seeing a lot of things. I was like, oh, I didn't know that came from Germany. I didn't know. So, appreciate you to whoever. It's on my phone. I have to go look at the comments, but thank you for sending me this video. It's like the first comment. I appreciate you. So, we finna jump into this. Hey, and learn why Germany is such an industrial leader when it comes to saying. Y'all make sure y'all hit that subscribe button and send down those recommendations.
Germany is the place where BMW, Rammstein and FKK, that nudist culture, were born.
Oh, snap.
Nevertheless, Germany has something even more important than all of these things, and that is the fact that it is the world's ultimate factory. Yep, you heard that right, and I can guess what you're probably thinking right now. Wait a minute, Simon, isn't China the country where TV screens, mobile phones, and well, practically every good under the sun is made? Well, the thing is, that's not entirely true. Now, of course, China does lead the charge when it comes to exports, but do you know what? In order to manufacture all of those products, they need to import a lot of things from abroad. Germany, instead, sells way more than what it buys. In fact, 1 out of every 10 products sold on the international market is made in this country, which has a population 15 times smaller than China.
Dang. What? All this in Germany? Or all those parts came from Germany? That's crazy. Who would have known?
I know. Yes, we all know those big German car companies like BMW, Audi or Volkswagen, but there is way more than that. If you don't believe me, well, just consider your mobile phone. And I know, on the back is going to say something like assembled in the People's Republic of China, but I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about if you open up that phone, you're going to find a bunch of microchips inside. As an example here, that chip that makes your phone tilt, when you rotate it and the screen matches up, that's probably most likely made by a German company called Bosch SensorTech. But not only that, many of the robots used inside these Chinese factories assembling these phones are probably made in Germany.
Wow. I would have known that. That is crazy.
In other words, in Germany, they manufacture the things that go inside of other things that are manufactured by things that are made in Germany. And now you might be wondering, how is any of that possible? I mean, factories, they should be built in places with cheap labor costs, right? I mean, how is it possible that Germany, with relatively high salaries, is such an industrial powerhouse? Well, the good news is that today we're going to answer that question for you, but as always, before we get into all of that, let's take a look back at the history.
Ordoliberalism.
After World War II, Europe was pretty darn destroyed. Countries like Italy, France, Western Germany, which was the capitalist side of Germany, they got a massive money grant from their good friend Uncle Sam. But wait just a minute, because each of these countries used that money in totally different ways.
The French president, for instance, was this guy that you'd see on TV, General Charles de Gaulle. De Gaulle came from the military and was no friend of private companies. His political creed, the so-called Dirigisme, was about nationalizing big businesses and leading the whole country's economy as if it was an army.
Dang. They took it way back, bringing up some history.
Well, in Western Germany, they chose a totally different path. Both the Chancellor, Konrad Adenauer, and his finance minister, Ludwig Erkhard, spent years thinking about their own economic system. It was a mixture between the competition of free market capitalism and the safety net provided by the government. They then decided to give this system what is probably the worst name in the world ever. They called it Ordoliberalism, or social market economy.
Competition is the most promising means to achieve and secure prosperity. Ludwig Erkhard.
In other words, while de Gaulle centralized the economy in Paris, Konrad Adenauer designed a system where the government would put into place a set of conditions, but the other players would make their own decisions. This explains why in Germany, trade unions, regional governments, and of course companies are quite so important. And so now you might be wondering, what are the keys that are needed for a system like this to work? And, well, has it really worked out at all? Well, let's get right into that.
A stable currency.
I'm pretty sure at some point you've heard some economists saying that devaluing a currency boosts exports, right?
For instance, imagine we have a shoe manufacturing facility in Mexico, and we want to sell a pair of shoes to the American market. Let's say the price of these shoes is 2,000 Mexican pesos. At the time of making this video, those 2,000 pesos is equal to about 110 US dollars. But let's say that, all of a sudden, the Mexican central bank decides to print money and therefore devalue its currency. From one day to the next, the pair of shoes could be worth 90 US dollars. Therefore, it would be easier to sell these shoes abroad.
Now, this is a theory that's actually supported by...
I didn't even know they made shoes in Germany. Dang, so 2,000 pesos equal $100?
The pair of shoes could be worth 90 US dollars. Therefore, it would be easier to sell these shoes abroad.
Now, this is a theory that's actually supported by most governments today. Now, the Germans, they actually decided to do the exact opposite, and for the later part of the 20th century, the German mark was actually one of the most stable currencies in the entire world. And this might lead you to wonder, well, how is it possible that Germany could export so much when their products were not actually that cheap? Alright, well, let's go back to our shoes example for just a moment, but actually this time I'm going to tell you the story of a real company. This is a company from the north of Germany and it's called DESMA.
Every time you drive by an empty or abandoned mall, start visualizing King Kong-sized dollar signs. As out of the...
It's not a particularly big business, it has around 200 staff. Now, this company started right after the war, being founded in 1946, and they specialized in making machines for shoe manufacturing. Now, in order to do this, they needed to import lots of machines from the United States, and thanks to having a stable currency, the price for importing those machines, it was relatively low. They then decided to rent a facility because at the end of the day, since there was no inflation, rents would not go up, and they could calculate the future cost of this space reliably.
That's smart.
But it wasn't only that. Since German companies couldn't offer lower prices, DESMA had to innovate. And in 1960, they invested in state-of-the-art technologies to manufacture rubber-sole shoes. 10 years later, DESMA was the world leader in PVC soles. It's in fact likely that the soles of the shoes you're wearing right now are made by a DESMA machine. This company with...
Never knew that. They look like they had them non-slibs when you have to work in a restaurant. Look like they were making those.
It's in fact likely that the soles of the shoes you're wearing right now are made by a DESMA machine. This company, with 200 staff, now sells to every country in the world, including China. And you know, this is just one example of the thousands of small and medium-sized companies, the so-called Mittelstand, that made up Germany.
The Mittelstand's success has attracted admiring glances from the rest of Europe, but it's built on foundations that may be hard to copy.
And yes, I know, the German mark is a thing of the past because in 2002, the Germans, they abandoned this currency and they adopted the euro. But think about it, while other countries like Spain, they were using weaker countries before, Germany had a strong currency for decades. That means that in 2002, German companies were already more competitive than anyone else's. But again, hold on a minute, because there's many other things that can explain the success of the German model, so let's dig into these now.
The educational system.
Now, I can probably guess what you're going to say. Come on, Simon, Germany isn't really famous for its educational system, is it? And to some extent, that's right. If you look at the PISA report, Germany isn't even ranking inside the top 10. But then again, German students managed to find a job right after they finished their studies. So, with not such a great educational system, well, why is this happening? Well, the answer to that actually lies in their vocational training.
Probably providing a lot more jobs. Able to provide more jobs, probably.
Well, the answer to that actually lies in their vocational training system. Now, let's imagine you're a high school student in Germany and you don't want to go to university. So instead, you decide to study to become a plumber. Well, from the first moment, you're already going to be working for a company which has an arrangement with the school. This means from Monday to Wednesday, you go to a classroom, and from Thursday to Friday, you go to the company's workshop.
Wonder, do they get paid? Will they get paid for that? Sounds like an internship type of thing.
There, you would be trained by the experienced plumbers, and you would get a salary of between $300 to $500 a month. And this salary is actually pretty important because it means that the company that are paying you really want to make you work. I mean, otherwise the firm's pretty much just throwing money away. And the outcome of this is that German students know how it is to be in a real-life working environment. In fact, many of them actually remain in the company where they did their training. And of course, those German firms, in exchange, they get well-trained workers. And now that we're on the subject of workers, let us move on to another key piece of the German system.
I feel like that's pretty smart. I feel like that's how school should be anyways. Especially if most kids don't want to go to college. Just learn a skill.
German trade unions.
In other countries like France or Spain, most of the labor laws are made by parliament, but that's not the case in Germany. Until 2015, Germans didn't even have a minimum wage. Salaries were negotiated by trade unions and employers.
In Germany, syndicates are extremely important. Actually, those big companies like Audi or BMW with more than 2,000 workers are required to have union representatives on their administrative board. Consider this. Siemens has 10 shareholder representatives on their board, and therefore, they must have 10 people representing the workers.
Remember this one, because it makes a big difference. In Spain, there's an example of another country. A big company like Telefonica has no trade union representatives on their board of administration. Trade unions can only participate in another body, which is called the Company Council, and they can only speak about matters that affect salaries or working conditions. Now, by contrast, in Germany, trade unions have a voice on every decision that the company makes. When Siemens wants to start operating in a new market or launch a new product, they have to ask the shareholders, of course, but they also have to ask their trade union representatives.
Man, I know how that can be, because sometimes those unions, they can go on strike and all that stuff too. Maybe they don't do it too much down there.
Now you might be wondering, isn't this just bad news for the company? I mean, we pretty much take it for granted that unions and companies not exactly best friends. Well, it doesn't actually have to be that way. Think about it for a moment. Thanks to this setup, Siemens and BMW's workers, they know whether a company is doing well or whether they're losing money. And of course, when things are going bad for the company, they can make compromises, like reducing their working hours instead of being fired.
To cut working hours at German facilities.
This explains why, during the financial crisis of 2008, German companies didn't fire a large number of people. And, well, this is good for the workers, and it's good for the company. But wait a minute, because I know what you're thinking right now. Those German trade unions are collaborating with big capitalists in order to exploit the workers. Right? I mean, it must be happening. Well, the answer there is actually certainly not.
The reality is that the average wage in Germany is around $3,400 a month. That's higher than the state of New York. And that's in a country with a pretty affordable cost of living. A flat in Berlin is about half the price of a flat in New York City.
And despite all of this...
Hey, New York is super expensive, so that's actually not bad. That's actually good.
Germany maintains its position as the third biggest country when it comes to exports. So now the question becomes, do you think your country could benefit from the German model, or perhaps you think these policies are impossible to implement elsewhere? Please leave us your answers in the comments section below. Meanwhile, if you do want to know about another YouTube channel that covers geopolitics, you can check out the Caspian Report. It's a great channel. We'll put a link in the description below. And of course, do not forget to visit our friends at the Reconsider Media podcast. They provided the vocals on this video that are not mine. And remember that we publish brand new videos every Monday and every Thursday, so subscribe to this channel and you'll never miss any post. Finally, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.
And if you want to learn more about politics and hear even more of my lovely voice, you can join us at Reconsider Media. We have a
Okay. I think what I was looking for, I feel like they gave a little information, but I was looking to see like the different products, like the different brands. I guess that's what I was hoping to see, because they showed BMW. I know BMW, Audi. Then they just talk about the little shoe company that actually makes the shoes, so that's cool. But I was looking for, maybe celebrities, other name brands that they show. If y'all have a video like that, let me know. I'm from Texas, so we actually had the best German in the world come and play basketball and do pretty great things here. So y'all know who that guy is. I shouldn't have to tell you, Mr. Nowinski. But hey, that's all I have for this video. Like I said, hit those comments. Let me know what you think. Hey, show me some. Maybe hey, send me some Dirk. I will do some Dirk highlight. I like Dirk. You know what I'm saying? But y'all hit that subscribe button. That's all I have. Y'all be blessed, be the best, and be you. I'm out.